Hey, comic book collectors, do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComicCon15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.
Welcome to the one and only Comic-Con Podcast, your podcast for comic book news, reviews, and comic community drama, with your hosts, Nemesis Prime and Milton the Manimal. Are you listening?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con Podcast. We are season 4, episode 6, recording this on February the 7th. It's your boy Nemesis Prime. Mr. Milton the Manimal still having fun out in Nashville, Tennessee with wife and friends. Must be nice to enjoy a super long week. Back from MegaCon. I was in Orlando and he's somewhere as well. But with that being said, I didn't want to do the show by myself, so I wanted to do some MegaCon review stuff. So I brought some people with us. You know him. I pulled him out of the grotto from 3 Men in a Basement. Mr. Otto from the grotto. What's going on, Everett? How are you?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, straight out of the grotto. I'm here. I'm ready to go. Can't wait to talk about this. And pretty excited not to be the host of a show. So here we go. I'm going to sit back and relax.
I got to say also, if anybody ever needs to go on vacation with Otto, he's very low maintenance. So if you ever need a roommate, please hit up Otto for any type of convention. He will be easy travel guy. Super easy. So that's one of our guests. And then we had ourselves another person who was actually set up at MegaCon. I'm not sure if it was his first, but we'll find out. Mr. Anthony from Bird City Comics. Anthony, how are you this evening?
I am fantastic. I mean, I've had 2 days of rest since MegaCon, so now I'm feeling good. But yeah, I'm ready to rock.
It's funny. Normally, when Zach's here, he's never wearing like a sweatshirt because he's in Texas, and you're out there and you're on the Phoenix area, and you're wearing a jacket, so it's got to be cold out there.
It hailed earlier. It was raining, and then we got some hail. The low right now is in the 40s. It's saying, so it's a rainy. As Laura says, a storm is coming, Harry. Every time the weather's like this.
Otto, that sounds like an East Coast thing, right? That's not a
East Coast thing. 40 degrees, a little bit warmer for us, a little colder for us out here, but still 40 degrees. That's jacket weather like you're wearing right there, brother. There you go.
No,
totally. So we have 2 con goers that were pretty much walking the floor the entire time, and then we have ourselves someone who is set up. So I think this is going to be a great kind of recap of MegaCon. Obviously, like I said, myself and Otto went there for the first time. Anthony, how many times have you been to MegaCon now?
This is the 3rd time I've set up at this show.
Okay, cool. So I guess post-COVID then, right? 21, 22, 22, yeah. 23, 24?
Pretty much, yeah. Since we got back from the COVID stuff, yeah, I've been on it.
Nice. Awesome. So, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on kind of the progression of you. And then, again, you'll hear from both myself and Otto as far as, what we kind of had, what we did and what we thought about it normally from our East Coast shows, and especially myself going to a lot of big shows, and same thing with Anthony. So we'll kind of start around the horn. So Otto, what was your first impressions of MegaCon 2024 compared to anything else?
It was great. I mean, I'm going to give it like a CGC, like 9.5 if I could, because it was just exactly what I was expecting. I did my research. I saw the hotel. I saw where we were staying. I'm a little bit of a hotel snob, so I like I like to be around where the action is, because the people are staying in the same hotel. You want to be around it. You want to see the people there, and it's afterwards, after dinner and stuff like that. But you know what? Where we stayed had a sky bridge, so it was a 15-minute walk. And when it's 70 degrees out and sunny, man, you take that walk into fresh air, and you walk in, and very simple to get in. I never felt that I was like in a herd of people. I thought the aisles were huge. I thought getting in was a multi-step process, but I was never belly to back against somebody. You know what I mean? I had enough space. I could walk right in. And, overall, man, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I shouldn't say it was a lot of fun to go to a show like this. Was aisle 600 and 700 really the only places you could find comics? Pretty much, you know what I mean? But there were so many other things to, keep you occupied with, that it was a great way. It was a great con to go to. I bought the 4-day pass. I only used 3 days, and I thought it was a bargain. You know, I was like $140 for that. So, you know, 140, you know, a little bit more than $32 a pop, you know, a little bit more than that to get in per day. And it was well worth it. And I went in twice, and I wasn't afraid to leave and go back to the hotel and say, I'm coming back later. And that's exactly what I did. And I don't feel like I missed anything. You know, I mean, I did feel like Sunday morning when we went all the way in the back, and that's where we had all the A-list actors like Susan Sarandon. That's where, my God, the whole entourage team was. Like, I didn't even see that the first 2 days, but I wasn't looking for them.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking for the artists. I was looking for Optimus Prime and Megatron. I was looking for the newer artists, the older artists, you know, just that whole area. And I thought that was all really accessible, you know? So
yeah, I think you definitely picked a great hotel. I mean, it was like right there by the convention center. And like you said, the fact that you could leave and you could come back is always a plus because, you know, I've done Baltimore, and even though I've stayed at some of the hotels, which are still close to the convention center, it's still a little bit of a hike to go back and forth. New York, I mean, if you leave for, you know, you're just really leaving for food because the food at the Javits Center is just terrible. But
dude, let's stop right there. Pause. He just said that once. He just said the food at the Javits Center is terrible, referring to New York Comic Con. If he said it 30 times, I'm giving him the low count on how many times he said, at New York Comic Con, you're jam packed. At New York Comic Con, the food's like, it was just, and I looked at him, I'm like, dude, why do you always go then? And he pretty much was like, well, because I always go, so I don't want to stop always going, you know? So
yeah,
let's just keep track of that.
I hate it. Year after year, it gets worse and worse, but I still go just to see people. I think that's realistically what it becomes too. But
they
you know,
serve alcohol though.
Yes, they do. That is the one good thing that
Which
you can.
makes the food court a little better.
Okay.
After you've had the alcohol.
Yes, you can walk around. That's the one good thing. Yes, you can walk around with a beer if you really need to. Unlike, well, I mean, I don't know, this guy down here in the bottom, he just decided to walk through the door with
a bottle of Tito's.
Yeah, bottle of Tito's and tells you they just don't even care. They didn't even care. Oh. But so you spoke about, you know, before we get to Anthony, so you spoke about the hotel. You know, let the listeners know, who do we run into at our hotel? Just some of the names that, like, we're literally staying at the hotel right next to the convention center.
All right. So this is how much fun it was. So in the morning, Saturday morning, we're walking out, and there's this gentleman, a tall gentleman, Asian gentleman, walking a little bit quicker than us. And he looks at me and he goes, "That's our germ." And he said it to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay," like in our hotel. And then he says to me, "Please don't say anything, dude. Don't say anything." I'm like, "All right, I won't. Next morning, we're walking, and there was another gentleman wearing a guest pass. And I'm looking at him like, I know who this is. Why can't I think of it? And he wasn't really paying us any mind, and we weren't really paying him any mind because we don't want to just be like, hey, you know, what's going on? It was Jeff Loeb.
Who are you? Yeah. So
yeah, it was Jeff Loeb. You know, Justin wanted to whisper like, what was it? The Batman book, Justin.
Oh yeah, I love Long Halloween.
You know, and then the last day, you know, a minor highlight, but like a huge win. We were, you know, getting ready for our flight at the hotel, enjoying a couple libations and some food. And Justin buys a gentleman a drink and turns around. Lo and behold, it's Tony Daniel. You know, so, and he came over and chatted up with us. So, you know, these interactions are really part of why I'd like to go, you know, because you never know who you're going to see. And this has happened countless times at Terrificon. You know, whether it's getting on the elevator and there's Flash Gordon, my hero, standing there right in front of me, like coming out of the gym, or, you know, getting breakfast and there's Henry Winkler, the Fonz, 2 people in front of me. So, you know, you want to be around these people because these are the interactions that you like. And you know what? It's okay to meet some of your heroes, unlike Lou Ferrigno, but that's for another story. But anyway, so
yeah, that's what's the greatest thing about it is that you're getting them out of their element. When you see them at the show, they're, you know, they're sitting down, they're below you, they're pretty much, if they're an artist, they're, you know, they're drawn constantly, they're not really looking around too much. And then you really, you know, you don't want to spend an hour talking to somebody because then the line starts getting behind you. Then people are like, oh, this guy won't stop asking them questions. But we had the perfect opportunity on Sunday when we were talking to Tony. It was just, you know, a genuine conversation. Wasn't even really too much about comic book stuff. We were just, you know, chatting about the con, chatting about, you know, you were chatting about your kids and his kids, and
yeah,
it's very personable. So it was just really nice to get that experience that, again, you don't see that in the show, right? You don't have that time. Uh, so, Mr. Bird City, obviously, like you said, this is your third time going. How was it compared to the past 2 years for yourself, setting up and being there? Because again, this is for our first time.
Sure. So are we talking about CattleCon or MegaCon?
We are talking about the future leaders of America that were also staying in our hotel.
The future educators,
and the dance team that was also there.
There you go. So to provide some context, guys, CattleCon, which is a real thing, was happening the same weekend as MegaCon. And the reason why I lead off with this, MegaCon's a great show, and I'm going to get to that. So I'm assuming MegaCon is at the same place it was the prior year. This is my third year setting up. So I meet the team of people that I'm going to be boothing with. And, I've been going to the gym lately, and I was like, I'm going to carry those short boxes by hand. It's not that far of a walk from, the hotel with the skywalks. I can do this. We start walking it, and I cannot make this up. Two guys that are obviously heading to MegaCon walk past us in the opposite direction. They go, "You're going to get all those comics signed at CattleCon?" And we thought they were just being sarcastic because we know CattleCon's coming. We're seeing all the signs everywhere, and we're like, "Oh yeah, haha, blah blah blah." And we continue to walk. We walk all the way down to that main hall, down the escalator, looking around. I'm telling you guys, there are cowboy hats galore, cowboy boots, buckles, inflatable cows.
Woo.
And we're looking around like, where are we? So I go into like the entry door, before you have to provide some type of pass to get in. And I look at the lady and I'm like, where's MegaCon? She's like, oh, that's in the West building. This is CattleCon.
We're in the East building.
Yeah, and I was super interested, and I'm like, look, I need to get to MegaCon, but I need to know what CattleCon is. Can I go like just peek my head in? I will come right back. I swear you can keep an eye on me. I'm not gonna like make a run for it. And she's like, yeah, go look. So I go on the door, guys. I cannot make this up. The convention hall was full of vendors that are teaching you how to manage your herd. There are seminars on it, managing your herd, different types of product, how to keep them healthy, food, supplements, a lot of courses, just all this paraphernalia for cattle herding. Blew my mind. I wanted to spend the day there and walk around.
Yeah. So not only was that there, I was talking to a gentleman. They buy and sell cattle. So evidently the going rate at the day for a Mexican cow.
Yeah, Mexican
cow was $2K. $2K.
Damn.
Like, that's what they're saying. And I'm like, all right. And then, the Reese brothers asked one of the older gentlemen, where you guys could tell he was like, this guy was Yellowstone all the way with old generational, you know what I mean? And I don't know how many cows he said he bought, but it was a lot at $2K. And the Reese brothers were like, oh my God, that's like 2 AF-15s or something like that. So pretty interesting to see, different walk of life. Something that me living in the Northeast, I know nothing. I know less than nothing. The only thing I know is what I've learned from Yellowstone in 1867. So
I'm with you. I was making a joke. I was like, there's got to be like, what is this, a convention to tell you how many ways to cook it? Like, that's all I would be interested in, is that aspect of it.
Yep. They have like the wrangling section, like how to throw the lasso around. Or do they have the mechanical bull set up like we've seen in Terrificon, Otto?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we had off that thing in 10 seconds.
Yeah, it was a trip. But so then I look at the guys and we're just like, all right, so West Campus, and it's past where we walked. So I was like, yeah, I toughed it out for the first walk. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to pretend to be tough guy. So let's get a cab. And we took a cab across the street, like legitimate. And then we got set up and the show started.
So when you set up, did you go in on Wednesday or you went on Thursday, which was the first day of MegaCon?
So I got there on Wednesday. I did a little setup Wednesday, but the majority of the stuff I needed didn't show up till Thursday, because it's always fun shipping your stuff, to another state. So I set up Thursday.
But when you did go into CattleCon, it was Wednesday or Thursday? It was
Thursday when I walked to CattleCon. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. So yeah, there was just so many things going on like in that little section. But that's crazy. But so how was MegaCon? Like, how was MegaCon for you? Post, finally figuring out where you needed to be.
Yeah. So MegaCon was killer this year. Like, I think last year was an interesting year for just how the dynamics in people that were coming onto the scene for selling, because MegaCon was just so saturated with, there was a million people there, and I'm talking a lot of sellers, a lot of social platform sellers or app sellers, and it was so much going on. This year seemed to be a lot more tamed. Like people were hitting tables, people were purchasing. It was like wheeling and dealing. Like I had a great time. I was turned up the whole time. So yeah, this year was fantastic. Like the vibe was just on point for me.
And even though I know you didn't have a book to do, because this is kind of was like a last minute show, so obviously you kind of bring your most recent variants that you do, some of the exclusives. And you still did. Every time I saw you, things were moving, and by the time I saw you the last day on Sunday, you were bare down to like bare stock, which is phenomenal. And I guess when you see these things for the past 3 years, is it a positive show to be going to for like a retail, as like on a retailer side too? So I want to kind of speak on, an exclusive retailer, vendor, or just a retailer in general. Do you see the growth in this?
Oh yeah. So kind of touching on what I was saying is that the buying was way better this year.
Really?
I was out of books by Friday night. So
Right.
Saturday morning I had a handful
You were
of
putting up
things
the
left.
sold out signs, right? Like you were like putting those over
You
your
got
head.
it.
Sold out. That's okay.
Which was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was great. People were buying left and right. A part of the market is that resale. So that third market, and we're talking like, Whatnot, eBay Live, things like that. And so when those guys are a pug, I'm telling you, she's vicious.
Must be Laura doing
Anyway.
something in your studio room.
I'm assuming it's my son being my son. So anyway, when those guys are making purchases at booths, that just means that the aftermarket's healthy. So you know how it is. People walk up, they're like, I love it, I want it. And then you get a second crowd that walks up and go, I love it, but I love it because I want to flip it. You need all those aspects for a good show. You just do. And it seemed to hit. We got a flood of customers that, they walk up and they go, where's your wife? Like I always make that joke, but it really happens a lot. Nobody expects to see me there. And they buy something, and then you get some live streamers that come by and go, all right, I need one for me and a couple for the show, and then they grab some and go, and it was a very healthy buying situation. So I enjoyed it.
Nice. Well, Anthony, I'd be on the flip side. If I saw your wife first at a show, I'd be like, where's Anthony?
Yeah.
I appreciate so much. She, what's funny? Because she said tonight, I go, hey, I got a show. I'm gonna go on and hang out with Nemesis and Otto, and she's like, they didn't ask me. I'm like, you didn't go to the show, and she goes, I didn't stop them last year.
Ooh. What is she going to talk about? Is she going to talk about how you contacted her, or if you got hit on by any girl? Like, what? Really? Come on. What?
Oh, that was pretty funny too.
Yeah, I had that conversation. So that was a great time. So a little inside, we were heading to MegaCon, and Otto's kind of falling asleep in the morning on Friday morning, and I'm playing on the Switch on the plane.
Oh, geez.
And one of the stewards walks up to me. She's like, excuse me. She's like, do you have headphones? And I go, headphones. And I was just like, I can't even hear the game. Right. And she's like, oh, because the noise, it's kind of traveling into the back. And we're in the very last row. She's like, oh, it's just like reverbing. And I'm like, I was like, it's on like no volume. Like, I don't even have volume for the game, so I can't even tell you what's happening. I really think she wanted to see what I was playing, and just to kind of kind of chat it up with me.
You want to get on that Switch, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. She wanted to know what was going on. So
yeah.
For myself,
were you playing?
Oh, what was I playing? Either Mario Wonder at the time or Smash Brothers.
So I was telling you, bro, that's the move right there. You break out the side controller, like click, little Mario Kart throwdown.
Well, when we were sitting, and then on the way home, we had, we spent a lot of time in the airport, and I got to tell you, the Switch was the thing that saved me, because it literally, when you're gaming, like gaming time goes super fast, but when you're waiting time, it goes super slow. So, yeah, I throw in like I went right on the Super NES emulator on the Switch, did a little Link to the Past, got my first pendant, and was hitting it up. I was ready to go. So, so glad I brought that. So glad I brought that.
I just want to talk about like the airport for us. Like Justin and I, we were very fortunate. Like we got direct flights both ways. I mean, we had a little hiccup on the way home, but for me, it was pretty easy. 2.5, 270, almost a little under 3 hours on the plane. That's an easy ride, and that's easy for me. So this is why I thought the show was good. you know, because it was a quick ride. I mean, Baltimore, when I flew to Baltimore, was 40 minutes for me. You know, Terrificon, it's all about accessibility. You know what I mean? So that's why I think this was another bonus, you know?
Yeah. Even the pricing, you know, Otto, when you book the hotel, did you book it similar to how like Terrificon has? Like you book it through
Yeah.
their website and you get like a discount or
And you got
or
the
whatever?
code. I did it. At least I probably did it in October when I decided to go. So, you
Mhm.
know, and here's what I recommend. If you guys think you're going to go to the show, reserve the room, you know, get that rate, because once you lose that rate, and you know, for the hotel that we stayed at, it should have been double per night, at least
Oh,
in my opinion, and from what I see up here in the Northeast. And
yes.
again, I'm a hotel snob. I like nice hotels. I understand you pay for what you get, and I felt like that was another huge discount, you know. So, you know, the 4-day pass for 140, you know, let's then, you know, look at that. And I was only there for 3 days. The flight was $252 round trip, you know, and then the hotel was, you know, $200 a night plus plus a little bit of taxes, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
so
it's
that's, you know,
super good, you know, and especially when you're splitting it with somebody, you know, you're not having to worry just about yourself. But yeah, you know, I was just like shocked when, you know, Sunday morning when I actually saw the invoice for the hotel, I was like, damn, 204 a night. I'm like, I can't even get that here in anywhere in Jersey at even like a rinky dink hotel. It's
right.
just like a, you know, like a garbage Holiday Inn. I mean, we're literally in Orlando, Florida, you know, 20 minutes to Disney. We're right next to the convention center. I'm like, this is where it is. You know,
Yeah.
and I know you kind of booked last minute, so it probably was a little bit more, but
Yeah. Laura always gives me crap about that too. I'm super weird this way. This is one of my ticks. I'll tell you guys. I'm a yes or no guy. I hate the word maybe.
mhm.
So like, and it sounds harsh sometimes. Like if my son's like, "Hey, do you want to throw the ball around, Dad?" I either say yes or no.
Okay.
And if I'm working, I'm like, no, because I don't want to say maybe and then disappoint somebody.
Mhm.
I'm like that with hotels because what Otto says, my wife says to me all the time, book them way out in advance. We could always cancel. And my heart starts thumping. I'm like, no, I don't want to commit if I'm not really going. And she tells me all the time, I need to know the list of all the shows you maybe want to go to. And I'm going to get you nice hotels so we're not screwed. And I
Mhm.
fight her on it because that's just who I am. And it's ridiculous. And I always end up in these janky or haunted hotels.
Oh my god. Well,
Dude,
you
my
know,
Baltimore hotel was haunted. I swear it.
yeah, I mean, I heard that story. Yeah, you told me that story.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I booked Baltimore super early. You know, Terrificon, which is not until August. I booked that last like December when they first went on sale. And it's super cheap and I go, you know, the show's only a 3-day show, but I'm going Thursday through Monday because, you know, we're set up. I want to be there. I don't want to have to like leave on Sunday night and deal with traffic. And it's like just under $1,000, which is just still wild. Like that's with the discount, and I'm splitting it with people,
Yeah.
so it's gonna cost me $200 maybe, you know, for a whole like 4 days. It's just wild. So that's the most important thing. I definitely agree with Otto. You know, book early when you want to go to a show. You know, if you think you want to go to a show, book it super early. Just because, yeah, I'm even just go on like Booking.com or whatever and just book it. They're not going to charge you. So,
Yeah. Well, the other
uh,
thing too, like what you guys are saying, you guys stayed real close to the convention center. I was on the other side of the freeway, which
mm,
it was, you know, a 4-minute car ride, but there were no restaurants within a reasonable walking distance. So I also had to pay for DoorDash dinners and things like that. Cause I wasn't
Right.
going to go hoofing
mm,
it. I wasn't going to take an Uber there and back. So, you
yeah.
know, I had a DoorDash bill and it's real important, guys, to plan ahead for reals.
Well, then even same thing, like you had to Uber to the convention center every day
Yeah.
too. So that then eats into, you know, other
Mm-hmm.
random stuff. I mean, we literally walked right across the
Traffic.
street. They had a nice little pavilion, like a Mexican
Mm-hmm.
restaurant. You know, they had a Irish pub. Everything was like right there. So
Yeah.
you didn't really have to go far. And you were still within like other people. You were still hanging out with like community people and con goers. You saw all that. So it's not like you're skeeved out like going to Baltimore, which I've seen.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
really.
and that's totally a good call. Like, I would say MegaCon in San Diego are awesome because everybody stays in that area. So if you're a
Mhm.
fan, go to those shows. You're going to run into artists. You're going to run into people from the show, YouTubers, podcasters, like everybody that's a part of the community. You're going to run into them at MegaCon for sure. Because especially if you stay in that Hyatt, whatever that's like a hive, there's like Hyatt West and Hyatt North. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
dude, I got lost going to that thing too. So that was fun.
When this was funny, I was talking to one of my coworkers, the civil engineers who built this area. They built a convention center. They built the 4 or 5 big hotels. You know, they dropped this shopping center right in the center of it. You know what I mean? Like the knowledge of what you're going to put in there, to how many people you're going to deal with, and the hotels and the buses. And it was so funny when we were inside waiting to get in. You could tell when one of the buses from one of the hotels came, because it was just like 80 people at a time, 80 people at a time, 80 people. So there was thousands of people there, but I never once was like, oh my God, this is too packed for me. But again, I left probably during the busiest hours, but so,
well,
and then,
like you said that, yeah. And I was with you when we were walking, and I'm saying, like, it's literally, they're dropping, 5, 6 buses in a row are full with people, dropping all these people off. We were seeing them walk through the door, and we're like, where are all these people going?
yeah,
And I think it really was, on Sunday, we really noticed where all these people were going. Were right, they would literally walk right in and then go right to, like, the artists, well, not the artists, but like where the actors, actresses, voice actresses, that's literally where the lines were. And I
Yeah.
think that's the big thing with a lot of these shows, is if it's not really geared towards comics. Like, we've all been to Baltimore. Baltimore is a comic book show. Like,
right.
that is the epitome of a comic book Comic Con. Like, this con, I've heard great things about it. I heard it was amazing. For me, it was a good show. I wouldn't say it was a great show, but I do see the niche of, it's a little bit of everything. It's,
But would you
you know,
say you had a great experience, Justin, or just a good experience?
I don't know. Like, it
You got to
depends
hang
on the
out with
great
me, so
experience.
just keep that in mind.
Say again, Anthony?
I said you got to hang out with me, so keep that in mind in your grading. I'm just saying.
Yes, it was a lot of fun seeing Anthony from Bird City. Everybody follow Bird City Comics and buy their variants. But
Which
yeah,
I did.
yes, we all grabbed some stuff. But yeah, it was excellent. Getting to meet certain people. Obviously, I got to crack my Transformers 1, which I had signed by Peter Cullen. Had Frank Welker sign it, which was just an amazing experience in itself. Somebody that you've heard the voice for over 25, 30 years, and then doing this was actually my first ever photo op, and I finally get to see this experience of how they do it. They literally herd you like cattle. Like, it's like photo move, like, they don't even care. But I literally walked up to both of them, and I really quickly go, guys, just to let you know, this is my first time ever photo. Can we please take a good one? Like, that's literally what I said to Peter and Frank. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. Like, and then just, everything around, hanging out with Anthony, and just seeing, like, all, Drew from Wanted Comics was there. Obviously, Davis Ryder was with your booth. Everybody, like, seeing some of the Whatnot crew, just everybody that you didn't think, then there were people that I saw that I didn't think I was going to run into, people that follow me here on the platform, on both, like, Instagram, Whatnot. Like, it was so great to talk with artists. So for me, because I'm like an every guy thing, like, I like the anime stuff, I like the art stuff, the comic stuff. So it was a good show, but here's the biggest problem, is when you're going from New Jersey to Florida, you can't buy as much as you want to buy. Like,
Yeah.
that is the hardest thing. Like,
I will
I
say
bought,
that's like, yeah, like shipping. Like, I can see why everybody ships stuff back and forth. Like when I brought my bag, like I had 25 t-shirts we gave away, and I'm like, oh great, I can't wait to bring this home with nothing. And next thing you know, I got 50 raw books wrapped up in blankets. Like, it was heavier before I left. It was heavier going home than it was when I left, and I didn't think I'd get it through TSA at the time, but that
I was
was
shocked. Yeah. I had to buy 2 of those comic clamshells just to put more comics in it, that, variants that I bought, that I was selling on Whatnot, that I was, buying other books for myself. Cause I literally was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I actually ship these things home? And, I remember this experience from when I went to WonderCon out in Cali. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have all these books. What am I going to do? Like, it's just such a different experience. I bought an original art page. I posted it on the Instagram. I just told the artist, I was like, and I know he's in New Jersey. I was like, listen, either you could just ship it when you get back, or I'll just go to your house. And I just went to his house actually today, and grabbed the book, or the page, and I got to see some of his, like, PCOA and some upcoming pages that I'm probably going to purchase. So, overall, it was definitely a good show. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. If you're into everything, if you really just want to do a comic show, I would recommend Baltimore more and Terrificon more, without a doubt. And I know, like, we've all done the Baltimore thing. I know Anthony. We've been pushing Anthony to come up to Terrificon this year. I'm telling you, it's.
Told you, dude. I I got my foot in the pool on that one. I want to go to that. I got to tell you though, Otto. I was like, it was funny when Justin goes, I got a photo op, and he just said it like that at the booth, and I don't know why my brain didn't register it correctly, and I just thought like, seriously, you got a spot where people are going to take pictures of you? I'm not joking. I was legitimately confused. I was like, no shit. He's got a spot where people are going to take pictures with Nemesis Prime. I was all proud. And then he explained it to me. And then I was like, yeah, I guess that makes more sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah, Anthony told me that story.
There was a lot of like, oh my God, laughable in the moment moments where you're just like, that was great.
Right.
So, like I said, man, for me, I got tons and tons of great memories, taking pictures with everybody. You know, if you're watching this, you know, on Friday, there's a few people out there that really hit me in the feels when they were like, Otto, you know, thank you very much for all the stuff that you've done. One or two people told me how, you know, our show and other shows got them through COVID. And, you know, one or two people told me, hey, listen, I wouldn't be here. A few people were set up doing things if it wasn't for, you giving us that leap of faith that say, hey, listen, you know, fanboys can partake in this in one way or another. You know, you just don't have to be a vendor or an artist. There's other things that you can do there. And that was really, really cool. And I was really appreciative of it, you know, because let's face it, this is a grind, you know, but it's a hobby. And I looked at it as MegaCon is going to kickstart my con season of my year. And that's exactly what it was. You know, great weather, good friends, great memories. I'm going to start dropping stuff on 3 Men in the Basement. Shameless plug. But anyway, so stuff like that. So overall, man, I had a CGC 9.5 of a time. You know, did I buy a big book? Yes. I also sold a big book. But I used dealers that I know. And there were a lot of dealers that I didn't know who were very friendly. So a couple of prices were super, super high, not readjusted. But then there were a couple of books that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm buying it for this price, you know? Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's my comic book review of it.
Nice. Yeah. It's interesting. You know, my biggest thing always with the going to Comic Cons is Artist Alley and how it's set up. And it literally took me until Saturday for Skeff. You know, I'm sure people know Skeff's Comic Knowledge, YouTube, whatnot, to tell me how the Artist Alley was really set up. How it was like a big U. So it would be the outside rows, yes, and then it would fold into the middle outside rows. So it'd be like a giant U is basically where all the big name artists and writers were, from like Comic Sketch Art to the Art Germ Collectibles crew. So like all the, you know, Derek Chu and all of them. And then on the far side, you had all kind of like Joe Rubenstein and, you know, all the older guys. But I couldn't figure that out. I'm just like, because I'm walking up and down rows and I'm like, first row, it's like, all right, it's the Art Germ guys. And then I'm going the next row. And then I'm getting into like tchotchke stuff, like pins and, you know, weird things. And I'm like, how does this art, like, are they in between these people? Like, I don't understand that. So having like an Artist Alley that's separated, you know, and Baltimore is great. Like, cause you walk into Baltimore, right? And it's all comics. And then it's like everything in the back. And then everything onto the left is all the artists. So you know where to go. Obviously New York Comic Con has its own separate Artist Alley. So that's perfect. That's like my one big gripe about how it was set up, because I felt lost like that Friday when I got there, because I'm just like looking for people and I can't find anybody. Obviously, yes, you can just kind of look on the schedule, and that was another thing. You know, Benny, man from Beantown, said that they didn't do
about this. You guys got to hear this. He was wound up about this.
He couldn't believe that they didn't do a program,
handwritten program, like a physical media.
Yeah, and I'm actually I thought about that more, and you know, New York Comic Con, you know, huge cons. That's like the first thing. That's the first thing you usually see. And my biggest gripe, and I said this to you when we were walking through the door. This is the first convention that I've ever been to. And Anthony, I don't know if you experienced this at other big shows, but this was the first Comic Con that I walked into that they didn't give you a lanyard when you walked through the door with your badge. Like, they made you pay for it. It was $5 for one, or like $10 for like two or three, right by where you past.
You did see that quite often. This is factually correct.
I'm like, I gotta pay for a lanyard. I walk through New York Comic Con and they are like standing there begging people to take their lanyards.
Right. No, mine came on like a rope, like just a black rope lanyard holder.
Yep.
Which I guess that was the ones they gave the vendors, but they had the nicer ones, which they were selling. had like the design or whatever it was. I heard, I didn't download it, but I heard MegaCon had an app that had the map on it. That's why they didn't do it.
Well, like New York has that, and it never works when you're in the Javits Center.
Right. Well, because the internet's a whole nother.
Oh, of course. I tried to buy my one piece of OA, the guy's credit card machine wouldn't work. We actually walked all the way outside the convention center, and it still wouldn't even work outside.
Yeah.
It was just. So I was like, that's why I was just like, I was like, I'll pay you when we get back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
So.
You know what I will give a point to, and I don't know, I think this is a good thing. The cosplay. It was everybody cosplayed, but there was nothing super obnoxious and huge where it was like, I'm here just to show off for 3 hours and clog all the aisles up.
Yep.
Oh, clearly you didn't see the giant Gundam reel that I posted today on.
Okay, I saw him though, but he did cruise through, and he had like a hey, we're coming through, people. But I can't remember if it was New York or San Diego. Somebody built like a tank, and it literally took up a whole aisle, like some anime monster that was on like wheels that they were rolling around. The arms move like it was crazy.
Like was it Mojo? Like from
probably.
That version,
that's what I'm thinking it was. And everybody had to get out of the way. And I'm like at my booth, and people were trying to buy things. And they're like trying to squeeze by. I'm like, just come in back of the booth while they get by. So there was no like obnoxious cosplay. Which cosplay is fun. And I love seeing it. But like when they go, what was a guy? There was a guy driving a remote control car.
Oh God.
Did you see him?
There was this group of monsters that used to do Rhode Island, and they used to do Baltimore. They would dress up as these aliens, and it'd be like 6 of them. And they were oversized, inflated costumes, and they were really nice costumes, but they always traveled together. So like when they would go through aisles, like everybody would have to part so they could do their little alien dance. And get it. It's great. It's just not the right time. Like no, where you're like not imposing.
Right. Because you get those groups. There's a group of cosplayers because they're fans and they love it, and they're gonna go in and walk around and do their shopping, but they want to do it in character. And then you get the group of cosplayers that want people to stop them for photos. They spend a lot of time on their costumes, which is awesome too. And then you get just the off the wall ones or the super huge ones. My favorite are the ones that like commit to the character. So like if they're walking by and you're like, hey, great costume, they turn around, hey, thanks. Like that's not how the character would respond, right?
Yep.
So I saw some of the aliens from Galaxy Quest, and they were doing that goofy little skip walk, like super stiff. And they walk by and I'm like, that's fantastic. You guys look awesome. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a thank you. They turn around and they go, la, 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 start clapping their hands at me like this. And I'm just like, and then they turn around and walked away. Like no regular thank you. They were in character.
Yeah.
And I love that about those two people. So if they find this podcast and listen to that part, you guys are awesome.
I did see there was a part where there's a bunch of Spider-Man running around, and they ran up to a Doctor Strange, and he played with them. He definitely was like in it. He wasn't like taken back. He like literally did like the whole spinning, circle thing with the sling ring. Like he was all for it, like trying to help them out, doing whatever it was. But I think obviously, other than the Gundam thing that I posted today on the reels, Otto, we saw it on Friday. That big giant Optimus Prime.
That thing was awesome.
Yes.
He opened up the chest and had the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like, that had to be the coolest cosplay.
Yeah. That I posted. That'll be up on my video that's dropping on 3 Men in the Basement, where he's walking and he wait a second and he like pulls a trigger and the chest plate opens up and there's a Matrix of Leadership like lit up right inside. Like that is above and beyond. Like in my line of work, like you've got like a 4.5 for this. You know what I mean? Like, that is like you get extra bonus points and you don't have to take the final. You know what I mean? So that was how amazing that was.
Yeah,
and I do appreciate how MegaCon did their cosplay area. Like they actually had a spot downstairs, kind of like where you originally walked in, with the different backdrops, which I thought was really cool, because most of the time when you go to shows, it's just they take, they're taking photos outside and it's just like normal stuff. It's like, oh, there's a pillar, but they actually had different scenes. So if you were a character, like whether it was like a superhero from like Gotham, like they had like a cool background of the city, or they had a cool like Mario Brothers thing. It was cool, like, or fantasy thing. So it's easy to take photos instead of having to digitally change the background to look something like.
Yeah, that was cool. I had a group of Spider-Men that were in front of the booth that just ran into each other. They're all different types of spider people. And they were like so happy to run into each other. They started like posing, like, hey, let's do we all point at each other thing. And they were doing that. And I was like, what are they doing? They're like, oh, I didn't like that. Let's redo it. No, you. And they're pointing on it. They were there for like 30 minutes, like figuring out new things to do with each other.
Nice.
And I was just watching them. And it was amazing. I had people coming to the booth. I'm like, how much is this? I'm like, hold on. I'm watching the spider people. Dude's about to do a backflip or something crazy. But yeah, they had a blast and everybody was awesome. So I was into it.
I said it to you multiple times, and even Otto too. You guys had the best row because it was the main row going from the beginning of MegaCon all the way to the back, where the artists and the actresses and actors were. That was like perfect for you guys, for Capture Collectibles, No Moss's team,
700 or 800. Where were you?
Yeah, well,
700.
That was 700.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Nelson. The Nelson Big Time Collectibles. He bought 3 booth space, and then figured out he didn't need the third, I think is how he was. Anyway, so he was like, I got a booth. You want a spot? And I'm like, no, thank you for thinking of me. And then 2 more asks later, I'm in MegaCon.
And you didn't have to drink to get those spots.
I know, right? I'd have to show any skin or anything. Jeez, no weird picture or nothing. It was just like, here you go, buddy. Like, all right, I'm on my way.
But a lot of YouTubers there, a lot of influencers, a lot of whatnot people, which was, again, great to see. I guess what's Otto, you said you bought a big book. What was your like biggest pickup or purchase? What was your favorite takeaway, I guess?
Well, I will show you. Well, one of the books that I picked up was an absolute ghost. But I did make a long-term play with the good brothers at Reese's Rare Comics. I had a pretty unique book, and we've been talking about it all weekend. And they had a book that I was going after, and it was an early Silver Age book. Double first appearance, a DC book. So I traded a Bronze Age. I traded a Bronze Age key for an early DC first appearance book. And I should say the Bronze Age book is a first appearance as well, which is pretty unique. So I'm going to talk about that later. But there's a book that I've been after for quite some time, and I've only seen it twice in person. I often ask people, hey, have you ever seen this book out there in the wild, like the Blue Marvel book? I've never seen that out in the wild. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but that's a book I've never found. But almost 3.5 years ago, I had bought a small collection off a friend of mine, and he had this book in maybe it was slabbed. It was slabbed. It was a 9/8, and I looked at this, and it's Galactus. So it's the Ultimates 1 in 50 Art Adams Galactus cover. Now, if you don't know what that is, please go Google it, because as I put on my Instagram post, I said, this is one of the most intimidating poses of Galactus that I've ever seen. eBay had one for 500, and I tried to get it for a little bit lower. The guy wouldn't do it. I was going to have Art Adams sign it at Terrificon. And then all of a sudden, I went up to a booth, a table I've never seen before. And you guys know I collect coverless books. And I'm like, hey, by any chance, you got any coverless comics? And he's like, yeah, a lot of our raw stuff, is in this box. So I start looking through this box, and all of a sudden I see this Ultimates #1 Art Adams Galactus cover. And I was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And the guy's like, yep, it's pristine other than the color rub on Galactus. So I'm like, okay, I guess I won't get it graded, but at least I'm going to walk off with it. So $125, offered the guy 100, ripped out a $100 bill. He took it right on the spot. So sure. I was happy that I picked up that. I almost did the Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor signature, but the 2 books that I bought had color rub. So then I chickened out because that was expensive, you guys. And I don't know if you guys know how much it is, but they were charging $350 a signature. Okay. Which money, you do whatever you want with your money. That's on you. And I was about to do it, but it wasn't on exactly what I wanted to get it on. So
yeah. That's not a signature you compromise on for those ones. You got to get them on the right book. You have to be happy with it.
If I'm going to dish that much money out, I don't want to be like, oh, well, I should have done this book. But my boys at Capture Collectibles said, there's going to be other opportunities. So definitely going to take advantage of that. Anybody that spent that kind of money?
I do, but I'm a little upset that you didn't give that person a shout out of who saw the color rub on those books.
I will say it was Justin. It was Nemesis Prime when I'm looking at it. I bought 2 copies and they were like, nope. Then we went back to this guy who happened to have like 15 long boxes of Star Wars stuff, and there was at least half a dozen copies of this same book, and they all had color rub on it.
It was I remember when they announced it, and it came out the week it came out. It was that Thrawn Alliance's book, and it's an amazing cover. It's
a great cover, dark. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's a great cover.
Anakin and Thrawn on the cover. It's based off the novel, and I could not believe that every copy had the color rub, and I'm just like, oh man, this was just terrible. Because they were perfect 9/8. If it wasn't for this like color bleed in the middle of the book, like on Thrawn's chest, they would have all been 9/8. But yeah. That was obviously my biggest thing was sending a book for the Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor signing, because
What
I
book did
missed.
you use, Justin?
I did the Anakin and Obi-Wan #1 Hastings variant, which is super rare. It's done by Gabriel Del Otto. It's a ghost. It's definitely like a rare book, and it's got the both on it.
Yeah, I want to pause. Who took that book? Was it JJ or was it Jason from Captured?
Because Jay took it, and then Jason saw the book that I was doing.
And he's like, what? Yeah. He's like, oh my god, it was a sick cover. And then he went out and he goes back. He goes, look, I had to buy it because you bought it, So
well, I already have a Hayden signature, and I really wasn't going to get Hayden's signature. But Capture Collectibles, they twist your arm. They're like, you got to do both. Yeah. They're both on the cover, right. Like. So the way my Hayden Christensen book now is, it's on the Darth Vader cover, and he inscribed it as Darth Vader. I'm hoping that he inscribes this one as Anakin Skywalker, which would be pretty freaking awesome. That would be
pretty cool. Yeah.
But we'll see how things go. But yeah, that was my big drop of with Capture Collectibles, was doing the signatures and stuff like that. But I love those guys. I've done a ton of stuff with them, and I'm waiting for Mary Elizabeth Weinstead. Had gotten her signature at New York Comic Con on a sketch that I had Martin Zavala do a Hera for me. I also have a Rosario Dawson in the works, and then the newest thing will be at Awesome Con in DC next month. I'm trying to get a Sabine Wren, so sending in a blank to him. Yeah, it's gonna be. I want to get all 3 ladies, and then I'll be done. But yeah, overall, I think the show was great. Anthony, did you get a chance to actually leave the booth and do any type of shopping or walking around?
I mean, I got to see booths between my booth and the restroom, that walk. So that was it. I can tell you one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to get a Danny Trejo signature.
Oh yeah, right. He was there.
Yeah, one of my buddies actually did a Rick and Morty exclusive, and on the cover is Jaguar, which was voiced by Danny. Mm-hmm. And I thought that would be the coolest thing. Like, bring me that comic. And he was supposed to bring some, and we were going to go over there and get some of them signed and graded. And, of course, I see him day one, and he's just like, hey, bro, I forgot the books, but I'll see you later. And I'm like, yeah, way to run off before I can get you. But we made arrangements to get the signatures from Danny later. But yeah, I was pretty pumped. I wanted to meet him at MegaCon.
Yeah. I know it's always tough when you're a vendor, and especially at a busy show like that.
Yeah.
And if it's only just you and someone else, your little, whatever, 6 foot, 8 foot booth, you can't really leave. I know, Laura's not there to really help you out. So I can't really help you out there.
Yeah,
but
shout out to Laura, Mr. Bird City.
Hey, Laura.
Hey.
So yeah, I think overall, I think MegaCon's a great show. We definitely did a great review of it. The only thing I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. There's only one last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. Obviously, no books this week because we are recording on Wednesday. But, there was a lot of news coming out over the weekend, and we're not going to really dive into the whole lawsuit with CGC. There's a lot of other YouTubers that are talking about that. But I really want to kind of just dip our toes, and we really don't know too much. But I'm sure a lot of people that are on Instagram are seeing a lot of artists. If you follow a lot of artists on Instagram that are leaving Cadence Comic Art. So a lot of them over on Instagram are posting, some names, we have, Sarah Bocelli was with them, Paolo Villanelli, Tola Latoy, Ralph A. Albuquerque, just to name a few. They were all part of Cadence Comic Art. And throughout the weekend, I had tons of people sending me their, basically their posts saying that they're no longer represented by them, that if they have anything waiting for overdue sketches, they're going to come. Either they can contact the artist directly, or some people were saying that, unfulfilled orders will be directed through Cadence Art. And then today I actually went right on Cadence Comic Art's website, and normally under their artist section, they have their featured artists and they have more artists. their featured artist section is wiped clean. And normally there's probably at least a good 30 of them. And someone like, Laura would love Jenny Frizen's on their list. So she's gone. I haven't seen her post anything. Obviously Sealy, tons of other people that I typically go on their website to buy stuff. I mean, the most recent one this year literally was Casper Wingard. I picked up the Darth Vader 42 variant. Now it's like, well, I guess, speculation. Anthony, I mean, you've worked with artists in the past. You're kind of a retailer. What's kind of your guess on why all these people kind of left?
I mean, it's really going to be one of two things: either the mishandling, if you're starting to get negative reviews, and I can see from an artist standpoint, if they come up to you and say, hey, I ordered this, where's it at? And you hear enough of that. That's what I'm assuming it is. The other thing it could be, which doesn't make any sense, but I've seen this with retailers, is that they just stop doing it when they have to pass the torch to whoever is next to run it. And maybe they're just calling it. I've had that with a couple grading companies where I used to like to work with them. And they're like, yeah, we're just not doing it anymore. Because it's a lot. Laura was asking me the other day, like, what's it take to manage an artist? And I'm like, you're their personal assistant. You manage their schedule. You deal with all the people. And for a list like theirs, I mean, that took a team to manage that.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a million possibilities that could have gone sideways on those, but I would say those are the two most common.
Everett, anything from you, as far as, artists? I know you're more on the old school stuff, but you deal with some of the reps at shows. You've seen them. What do you? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, something went south and people got fed up, and there was a small coup, and it wasn't. I doubt it was just one thing that made all these people leave, and it just it's a compounding thing. Maybe I don't get the hotel room, or maybe you don't get admission. Like, when you deal with artists, you have to, and I know this because I have helped Aegis Comics of Alaska, and even when we host artists at our little 3MIB comic book swap, like when we brought our friends from Alaska down, getting them, making sure that they have arrangements from the hotel to the airport or vice versa, having hotel access, dinner, stuff like that. And, I see what certain people do, what it takes to work with Roy Thomas and what John Cimino does with him, and to get him to go to shows, to negotiate, to talk about the pricing. But more importantly, I will say, I've learned most of this stuff from Mitch Halleck when he tells me what it takes to get certain artists halfway across the country to come to your show, or what their sitting fee is, or how they're going to make their draw. So I don't know. Again, this is news to me. I'm really not following this, you guys. I'm a true Silver Age collector. I'm a fanboy, but interesting to see. I'll keep my eye out. I mean, I'll listen to this and see what's going on, but that many people just don't jump ship for something that if you miss like a dinner or something, like something went wrong.
You know what's interesting now that I'm thinking about it and you're talking about it? I have, whenever I do Marvel and DC books, I have a wish list of artists, and the people I deal with already know it. So I would send them, this is my wish list. And then I have this is who I probably will get and will accept. And it's, usually 3 or 4 names for every category, and all the way down to like, send me who's available, whatever it is. So you look like the Grinch sneaking into still a present, right?
She's been on the show before. She realizes that we only do audio. Like it's audio. Nobody besides the two of us are seeing this.
But you sneaked in like you're about to like steal all the candy canes off the
like the Black Cat or something.
Okay. It's gonna need. Okay, you're fine.
Now we're gonna have to put. I'm gonna have to put this section on.
Put it back on. Okay, so wait, what was I talking about? So my wish list. Okay, so I put Jenny Frizen on my wish list all the time because of how she's managed. It's always a no. I've never gotten a yes on her. I want to say mid-January, I got a yes from Jenny Frizen. I'm going to get a Jenny Frizen exclusive.
Nice.
And which blew my mind because I was just like, it's always a no, but I just in case. And then this news comes out. I'm wondering, like I think Otto's onto it here. Just my best guess. Something happened, and they're managing their own schedules now, and all of a sudden, people are available.
Yeah, to piggyback off of you, I also think it's commission rates and OA prices, like because they have all that. They do specific times. They'll drop all like this person's going to do so many commissions. Here's the pricing for everything. on their website,
Yeah.
they sell all their original not all, but majority of their original art. So pages, covers. My guess is they weren't getting what was, maybe contracted to them. If this cover is
Right.
$2,000 and they were like, well, you'll get, 80% or 70%, we'll take 30.
Yeah.
Maybe they were getting less than that
Happy
because
customers don't leave in any industry,
Right.
right? You guys, like, that's
yeah. And I've been seeing, I saw two art reps on Instagram that I follow that, they made posts saying, listen, if you're looking for someone to manage you, please reach out to us. And,
Yeah.
you never know where they're going to show up. Or again, sometimes people just, they do it on their own. They don't
Yeah.
need someone like that. I know it's, especially the artists that are from like overseas. I understand that. Like I've seen that in the beginning days of some of these artists, but for the most part, they eventually they go on by themselves. They can handle
Well,
it.
the thing is, you got to like really trust that person. So I've seen it's for somebody to manage. Like when people say I rep artists, like you have to have a lot of trust in that person. And this isn't a shade thing at Marvel and DC, but just to give you a little how it works. I have some friends that are artists, and I'll request them. And a big part of the non-disclosure that everybody talks about, like as a retailer, you sign one non-disclosure agreement. They basically say, hey, don't tell about any projects, because they send us books that are coming out before people know, before it hits FOC, which usually leaks only a couple of days later once they release those lists, saying, hey, here's all the new books we're doing. Do you guys want to do them? And then they'll give us like hints like, hey, something's happening in this book. They're not always specific, but it's just get more people on exclusives for those specific ones. So there's these information emails that go out to retailers, and I know artists. So a part of that NDA is you're not supposed to communicate with your artist. Marvel and or DC is going to communicate with the artist for you to kind of be the middleman in making sure that it comes out right for all people and all parties.
Mm-hmm.
But at cons, we run into these people. What am I supposed to be like? Hey, don't talk to me because I'm going to request you soon. So, don't look at me. It doesn't go that way. So, we'll let people know, hey, check your email. You might get a request from Marvel and or DC for something I'd like to do. And, gentleman head nod, tip of the cap. But it's funny because I'll send in a request and then I'll get a denial back that says something like, oh, they're busy, or they weren't able to do the project. And I'm thinking to myself, I just saw them last weekend and we just had this conversation, and I know that they were going to look for the email. So it's that part of that management, you're wondering, do they have covers that they want them to do for them? And the schedule's not open, but sometimes they don't always communicate with the artist, because then I'll get like my buddy back and say, hey, they didn't even ask me. Like I figured, but you can't bring it up because that's a no-no. So that's a fun situation with artists and being managed.
Yeah, it's I especially someone like you and other retailers who go to shows constantly. You see these people
Right.
You're doing the con circuit, right? So you're going to constantly see these people. So what are you supposed to do? Kind of write it down on a Post-it and put it on their desk and be like, I want to do a variant with you, or hey, this is the cover. This is what I want it to look like. Because I get that, like most of the time when there's an exclusive variant, and if like you're saying, like if Marvel's saying, oh, something's coming, they're not going to tell you that it's going to be a first appearance of some character. So you can't be like, oh, well, I want that. I want this on the cover, right? It's just, you kind of get what you get. If it's a Spider-Man title, you're probably just going to get Spider-Man or, one of the females on it, but you wouldn't get that first appearance of that character on that cover because you don't even know.
They're not going to tell you on the info, which is funny because it's hard to read them. When they say this is going to be great, it could be the creative team that's going to be on the book, and we're thinking it's a key or a first appearance. That's right where my mind goes, but it could be just a fantastic writer that they're assigning to it. And then you get to it and you're like, but yay, because it's going to be well written, but it's not a new person or a new thing. It's a crapshoot, but yeah.
Well, see, I like speaking with other people that are not part of the normal comic book verse, because we get to learn things. So I appreciate that, Anthony.
Got you guys.
It's out there in the verse. So, again, I think the Cadence Comic Art, more stuff's going to come out from it. Obviously, as soon as we hear more, we'll probably touch base on it. And for me being an art guy, it's just wild, because I'd go on that website all the time looking. I type in Star Wars, Spider-Gwen. I'd see covers. I literally, the cover is right in front of me that I have to go and get to to get framed, and it's just wild that I literally just bought it a month ago, and now I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to reach out to the artist to see if I can pick up the other ones when I get a chance, and maybe it'll be cheaper. I mean, I know how much I
Probably.
paid for mine. Maybe it'll be cheaper directly through him. So,
Sure, less hands in
um,
the pot. I mean,
yeah,
it's really what
don't
it
cut
is.
out the middleman type of thing,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's usually another thing just for people, even like commissions. I had a conversation with someone today. If you work directly with the artist instead of going through their rep, hey, you cut it out. They'll give you a nice break. They know they're going to completely get that money directly to them. So usually that's
Yeah.
kind of even how I
You know
try
what
to
though
work it.
too, and that sounds all good and great, and I want that to be the way of the world. But
Mm.
have you met artists? They're a different breed, bro. I'm telling you, like I have to manage deadlines and concepts, and that is not a diss at artists. I wish my brain understood the way their brains work. Like I'm not a creative bone in my body,
No,
but
so Anthony, to your thing, when I went and I talked to an artist there about doing 2 Transformer sketches for me.
Oh, I hear this story.
It was David Hanna, am I saying it right?
Oh, David, Kahana,
Kahana. Yeah, David.
Kahana.
Yeah, David Kahana. So I apologize if the H is silent or the K is not. But David Kahana, he's an amazing Transformer artist. So he's looking at me and he's like, "So you want Optimus Prime, like Jean Grey colors?" And I looked at him and I go, "Dude, I'm not an artist." I go, "Do whatever you want. I see your stuff. Whatever I see is great." You know what I mean? Like I get it. And then when we were talking about the Dark Phoenix Decepticon cover, I said, all I want her to have is the big gun, like a Megatron. Like Megatron, I want the big gun somewhere on this Dark Phoenix Decepticon. And he's like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And just my brother's an artist. His brain works a lot differently than mine.
Yeah.
And it's the creative process. Exactly. I have nothing creative about me. I come up with an idea and I'm like, all right, just figure it out, dude, because I'll love it. I'm a fanboy, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got an artist I work with. I work with Ivan Tell a lot, and Ivan and I have an appreciation for each other. He loves combat sports, and I do too. And the other thing we bonded over is he gets me. So when he sends me concepts, he sends me 2 variations of what I asked for, and he always sends me a third one of something that he just wants to do or likes.
Yep.
And out of 10 times, I probably choose the third concept that I had no idea I even wanted until I saw it.
Mhm.
Probably a third of the time.
Right.
Minimum.
It's like you didn't know you wanted it until you saw it.
He's like, here's what you were thinking. This one's cool. And here's another variation. This is really neat, but check this out. And I'm like, don't try to sell me on your stuff. But every once in a while, I'm like, damn, I wish I'd have thought of that, because he's going to give me shit when I say, yeah, that's the one we're going to go with.
Too good. Too good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate my panel members tonight. Again, great recap show of MegaCon. Great talk about Cadence Art. Before we get out of here, Otto, let people know where they can find you, what you have upcoming for your channel.
Yeah, we got a lot of
future
things
stuff.
coming up over. Thank you very much. Great being a guest tonight on the show. With a great panel on here. You know what I mean? So really, thank you very much for inviting me on. Hope you guys enjoy this. Obviously, Otto_Grotto on Instagram, 3 Men in the Basement on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. We do some posts there. But predominantly we're on YouTube a lot. I'm gonna have a lot of content coming out about MegaCon and some things leading up to it. As far as 3 Men in the Basement, really, it was MegaCon's going to kickstart it. We have our 3MIB Massachusetts winter crawl coming up. Then we're going to be at the Doubletree Hotel for CliffsCon on a Friday night. That's right, we're doing a Friday Night Lights Comic-Con. That'll be the first weekend in April. And then my crew is going to roll down to King Con and then up to Little Giant. And then to the 3MIB comic book swap in May. We're announcing that very soon, okay? And then we're going to take some of the summer off, maybe hit up some smaller shows, and then we're full tilt to Terrificon. So that's my con schedule. I started doing my push-ups. I got the creatine ready. I'm ready for this action. So
nice.
It should be a lot of fun. So any interest you guys have, please DM me. We're going to have a lot of great guests coming on 3MIB in the near future. So thank you very much for having me on. Very appreciative.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for jumping on, Otto. Yeah, if anybody's in the Northeast, definitely check out. This is going to be an interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make their winter crawl, but they're getting out of Connecticut. They're hitting up into the Boston area. So if you're in Rhode Island, Boston area, or the Connecticut region, and you've never done a crawl with these guys, it's a lot of fun. They go hit up a couple shops. sometimes they get a little bit of a discount because they're bringing a lot of people, bringing a lot of money to the store for that one day. So hit up Roger, hit up Otto, Chinmo, whoever, and then so when's the Friday night show?
The Friday night show, that's actually going to be Good Friday this year, you guys. Easter is very early this year, or Easter is like the first weekend in April. No, in the first weekend of March. No, in April. In April, it's the first weekend in April. So that's Good Friday, and that's going to be at the DoubleTree Hotel. It's Cliff from Cliff's Con. It's a staple show here in Connecticut once a month, but every 6 months he does one at the DoubleTree where he brings in more vendors. It's a lot of fun. It's a great setup, very nice. And actually, we're going to be set up doing a live show from there. So we're going to have a live show from Cliff's Con on a Friday night just to bring awareness to it. So again, stay tuned to 3MIB. I'll be posting on that all the time.
Nice. That sounds awesome. That's different. Normally, comic shows Saturday and Sunday. On a Friday night, that's a change for something. So look forward to that. Mr. Bird City. Obviously, where can people find you, and what do you have upcoming as far as any type of releases? Maybe you want to tease out there.
Sure. So everything is Bird City Comics, Facebook, Instagram, website, Bird City Comics. Just dial that in. You're going to find me. I did recently just break 7,000 followers on Instagram.
Good for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I like that. I don't do any type of like advertising or try to like do it in any way that people keep advising me to do, which is probably smart. That is an organic 7,000, which I love. But yeah, the find us there, everything Bird City Comics, upcoming stuff. We're going to do C2E2. So that's probably my next big planned show. We're going to go to Shortbox Live. That's going to be amazing.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. The Shortbox people are fantastic. They're having us out again, which is a huge compliment to Laura and I, because that is not, it's not geared towards the modern collecting community. It's a lot of vintage. There's some big names in the retail game of guys that just have crazy, ridiculous books, and they're going to have booths there. A lot of really cool artists roll through like last year. I know Liefeld is like a name that people run into a lot, but I'd never met him before. And I bumped into him at Shortbox Live for the first time ever. Which that dude, a whole nother podcast about him.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, he was something else, like in a great way. Like there is a lot. Yeah, he's super extra, and there's so much to him. But the short box thing, and then something very, very cool. Guys, Gold Key got rebooted, so the Gold Key brand is back out there for producing comics. They just have a new Kickstarter right now, and that they are doing for Figgy Furthermore. Figgy Furthermore. Hopefully, I said that right. It's a Figgy book. Jay Stevens. Or let me see. Hold on. Let me look. Anyway, they're doing a Kickstarter for this new product. We're going to have a Bird City Comics exclusive for it, which will be cool. So this is going to be our first kind of Kickstarter that we've ever done, which is going to be for this new one. And I hope Shortbox jumps in on it. I think they're going to do some stuff too. So we're going to have a show on Friday about it. We're going to have an interview with the artist and the writer. The owner of Gold Key is going to be on too, and kind of give us some plans on what he's got coming up. And Laura and I are going to be extremely busy this year.
Nice. Any upcoming releases?
So this Friday, we're dropping an 8-bit Edge of Spider-Verse. It's a Mario Kart homage. And then there's a new Image title called The Last Mermaid. It's like a mermaid that's in a tech suit.
I just saw this today on Instagram. Yeah. I really want to know about this title. I'm definitely going to check it out.
It looks extremely interesting. So I got a partner, and we're going to do an exclusive on this one. Of course, it's going to be a Little Mermaid type homage. But apparently the book sizing is not quite a magazine. It's more square. It almost reminds me of the sizing for, remember those Disney, the gold bound spined books?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like that size. Or what was the other one? The mouse guy. What am I thinking?
Oh, a mouse guard?
Mouse guy. I was right there. But that size of book is what it looks like when I get the measurements.
Interesting. Yeah. I just saw that the Last Mermaid. I'm interested to see more on that, because I'm sure I definitely will read that. Cool. So, and then who's the artist you got on the 8-bit that's dropping this week?
Matthew Waite's going to be on the 8-bit, and then of course Trish Forstner is going to do the mermaid, because she does great Disney type style work. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm excited
for MegaCon, bro. Or not MegaCon, C2E2. Are either of you guys going?
No,
probably not.
No.
All right, we'll work on trying to get you there.
How about this, Anthony? How about this? Maybe.
All right, I like that.
Just like we like to hear. Maybe.
I got you for dinner one night if you make it out. McDonald's, anything you want.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 really cool books for that show.
All right.
One of them is going to be a Pharaoh book.
I was just going to ask.
Really?
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, but we're going to have Tony and Trish with us at the booth, bringing them out.
Okay.
So it's going to be something extra and cool since I'm bringing them out.
All right. Well, you're going to have to tell us post-show what the variant's going to look like.
I'm feeling like we're going to have to give some away on this show.
All right.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna have to snag you a little pack since we dropped since we dropped 10% of information, which is practically nothing here.
Yeah. Not a lot of stuff going on here on the podcast. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for the Farrell thing. I remember when Trish kind of teased it out last year at some point, or even maybe last year, and then I've already seen some of the stuff, the preview. I'm so excited for this series. I'm so excited. You know, obviously being a cat guy, I would love to do a variant for that, but it's not my audience, but it is I'm pretty sure I'm going to be like how everybody bought into all the Stray Dog stuff. I'm going to buy into all this Farrell stuff.
I can tell you, I've read personally issue 1 and 2, and you're going to love it.
Oh, fuck it.
I know. And you know what's funny? I'm super hard to impress with comics. Like everything is just kind of like, yeah, that was good. And I don't get much more excited than that. This is pretty damn good.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be, Stray Dogs was great. I remember when it first came out and I remember the first time I talked about it, I'm like, people, you need to pick this book up. And then a week later, it was all over the place. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I bought this and I'm glad I picked it up. So
totally.
Awesome. I appreciate both of you gentlemen coming on. Obviously, you're always welcome to come back anytime. Maybe one time we'll have Laura when she actually goes to a show and she can talk about being at a con. But
Right.
For the podcast, of course, upcoming like Otto, we will be at King Kong set up in April. We will have our buddy V. Ken Marion with us. We will be sponsoring him, and then he will also be with us at Terrificon. I was talking with someone over this past weekend at MegaCon. We may have a variant exclusive for King Kong, and then we are working with someone possibly for a Terrificon one. So, as we get some stuff, you'll know. So that's it, and of course, follow all of our links, and they'll be in the description. So appreciate everybody. We will catch you next week. Oh, and don't forget, people, check out my live show. We did a live show, myself and Binky's, of the negative.
Oh, I knew that was coming.
Had to throw that in there. Make sure you check out the live show rewind on some stuff that's going on with, of course, Epic Nation drama. That's it, everybody.
I was just gonna say it's epic.
It's epic. So later, everybody, enjoy your weekend.
Wait, you're saying there's some epic drama?
There is some Epic Nation drama.
Jeez.
Later, everybody.